Hello, and welcome to this episode of Sexpertease. I'm your host and favorite sexpert, the Erica Rivera. Today, I have a very special guest joining me, Chenzo from Chenzo Does Web. Chenzo is an awarded expert in SEO and web development, and he's also a dedicated advocate for sexual wellness. We've had the opportunity to be guests on each other's shows, so it's exciting to have him here on Sexpertease to share his unique insights. In this episode, we'll explore how the digital world intersects with sexual wellness, from making resources more accessible to creating inclusive online spaces. We'll be discussing ways to navigate challenges like platform restrictions, and Chenzo will share his expertise on how web accessibility can empower people in seeking sexual health education. Please welcome Chenzo.
Hey,
Hi.
I'm so excited. Thanks again for the invite.
Oh, I appreciate you being here. It's been quite a while, and I'm very excited for this conversation.
Likewise.
So let's jump right in. You are well known for your expertise in SEO and web development. How do you see the role of digital spaces in promoting sexual wellness and making information more accessible to diverse audiences?
Well, it's a great question, and it's so multidimensional because I think being in the digital realm now, I mean, let's be honest, when the internet first came about and until further notice, sex and gambling will always be one of the most predominant things online. I think blessed and lucky are separate things. So I'm going to use the term lucky in this department because it had to do with sex, drugs, and
Right.
alcohol, so to speak, which I totally endorse, but I know that there needs to be a fine line between misbehaving and behaving. But my point is, I was super blessed and lucky enough to have worked in Stockholm, Sweden, which is a huge birthplace for a lot of things being placed on the internet. And I worked alongside a lot of people that oversaw porn, poker, things of that nature online, and it was an amazing experience to see the attraction towards it, and then also too how it could be a slippery slope. But ultimately, I would say now what I see is the way that people are able to complement their lifestyle by means of generating content at whatever their comfortable threshold is of producing that content and being able to monetize their lifestyle is very fascinating, interesting to me. And I think what it's done is it's given a lot of people an opportunity to kind of learn about themselves and explore. So, because one of the things I've always found fascinating on a personal note is that this thing called life, the matrix, can be very interesting. And I know you know me kind of personally, right? Where I would kind of battle like, what's all this for?
Yeah.
But I love talking sex a lot, you know that, with it being respected though,
Right.
right? So I feel like I could, I feel like I've always been able to find the silver lining to being able to say, I mean, you've heard me use the term fake date probably many
Yes.
times.
Yes.
I think you and I have been on one.
Yes.
Um, I think that using that term without coming across with false pretenses either, like, oh, I'm just going to be your buddy, or using web services or even digital services as means, as a mechanism to acquire that communication. There's this fine line where I see where we could go into a whole nother realm of like being able to use communication digitally as a complement towards courting a person, right?
Right. Right.
So what I see now is that if someone's able to use it and not be used by it, regardless of what they're doing with their interwebs, that would be what I've seen, something that I've been thankful for, that people come to me with this, how could I use these interwebs to not only complement maybe my services and my business, but also maybe explore my sexuality without losing themselves? Because it's a slippery slope, wouldn't you agree?
It is. Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I like that you said using the services as opposed to letting it use you,
Mm-hmm.
have the web use you, because you could
Yeah.
easily get into a dark place and
Absolutely.
you are now lost instead of finding
Mm-hmm.
yourself. So there is definitely a fine line.
Yep.
And speaking of that, what do you see as some of the biggest challenges for those that are trying to make sexual wellness content more visible, especially with restrictions and stigmas that exist on certain platforms?
I would say it's complicated. It could be really complicated because I don't know if I could get woo woo with this, meaning because I'm very open about my relationship and my passion towards living a very Christ-like lifestyle
Mhm.
with a sliver of being a boy. It can be so hard, and I spend a lot, and I'm not saying this to sound better than anyone else. Anyone who says they're praying and working out enough is lying, right? We all could do more. But I try to spend a lot of time and good dialogue with who I believe to be my creator and my father. And I can feel him tugging at me sometimes where one anything of too much is bad, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes, regardless of what it is. And I wrestle with him sometimes, and then I'm like, it doesn't make me shake my belief. It doesn't make me shake not eating 15 hamburgers today would be so easy, right? And I'm like, why are the hamburgers here then? But I love to
Totally.
play and I love to misbehave, and I use that term as a fun, whimsical umbrella statement of like, I love to have a couple cocktails and I love to flirt and I love to play and I don't like the taboo that the word sex can bring, or even I love sometimes just saying semen in the middle of a conversation
Yeah.
because it's not a bad
It's
thing,
not even a dirty word.
it's
It's
not a
not.
dirty word. But like I said, we've sat down many times recreationally over our span of a friendship, and I've never once been told to leave. I've never been once thrown something. I've never been once bothered somebody by my dialogue, but I really push the envelope. And I'm not even doing it sometimes cognitively more than it's just a
Right.
fluid conversation of like boobs, like you could not even addressing someone, but just like, I like boobs. You can say you like boobs. Um, but how I see it trying to remove the taboo from it is, once again, I'm not even kidding you. I said this the other day. This may be a little off topic. Can I jump somewhere real
Oh,
quick?
totally. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
check this out. No joke. This is like perfect, like it just congruency of this whole situation is that I had gotten a phone call a couple weeks ago, and I'm super super. We'll use the word blessed in this department. I feel like I'm super blessed because it's like soul juice to me when people call me and just want to talk to me. Like that's why I started my show years ago. People just felt this comfort and this safety, which has been branded on me. And I'm like, wow, I would have never thought that would be a quality key term that I would have strived for as a young boy. Like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like, I want to make people feel safe with a focus on women, right? Like,
I
and it,
want to be a safe space.
yeah. And I've been told that now more times than I can count. And I'm like, how did this happen? What an honor. You
Yeah.
can't buy that. You can't make that up. So I'm getting a phone call recently, and someone just needs to let it out. And they know they're in a safe place because you know me well. I don't care what color, what creed. I don't care if you fly. I don't care if you swim. I'll try to even do it with you. Let's roll.
Yeah.
And this person knew they could just tell me everything. So they're unloading, and I don't even know where it came from, Erica, no joke. And this person was having conflict with another person, and they were trying to figure out, why is this person doing this to me? Why? We can deal with that as adulting, right? Like, why did this person not pay me back, or why did this person not return my phone call, or why are they that sense of being taken advantage of, regardless of whatever this had happened. Point is this: out of nowhere, I came up with this concept, and I go, you heard the term "show me your friends, I'll show you your future."
Yep.
I literally said, I'm going to curse.
Yeah, yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. Yeah, it's
I
okay.
go, show me who you're fucking, and I'll show you where you're going. Now, I know that sounds ridiculous,
Wow.
but it hit, and the person was like, wait a minute. And this wasn't even in relations of like them feeling jaded about a relationship. It was all things life, business,
Right, right.
like,
It wasn't like
and
tied to that.
it
Yeah.
wasn't just like, oh, I'm mad that they're not calling. It was just like this is some real life adulting bullshit.
Mm.
And I was like, you know what? Show me. And here's the thing: you don't have to show me who you're fucking. It's not like, oh, they're ugly or they're not, or they're good or they're, it's just, let me see, what is your thing? And it's okay. It doesn't mean it's bad. But I feel like if people were more open, which I've always been behind closed doors, I may not be, and I mean behind closed doors, even at having a sippy at breakaways. I'll tell you what I'm into.
You're
I don't,
right.
right? But my point is like, I feel like there's something going on where when society and or a human keeps their, let alone, there's fine.
Nothing wrong with it
But
at
like,
all.
when you just are that person where everything about you is so opaque, let's be honest, what's life really about excluding spirituality? And I mean, no disrespect, Father, but like, this is the matrix side. Let's put spirituality aside for a second. We will have to eat and we will do fuck.
You're not wrong. Where's the why?
and I had a conversation with an 80-year-old guy yesterday. Very well, great. And I was having this conversation with him and he goes, where did you learn this? I go, no one taught me. I read no book. I saw no show. Because what I'm saying isn't even always that romantic. It's kind of brutal.
To the point.
Right to the point.
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest. Every business deal I've done now in the last few weeks where people need an approval by me, whether there's finances involved. I'm not talking about my customers. I'm talking about people coming to me to do business with. I'm not even kidding you. I've used this term now. Who are you fucking? What do you want?
Yes.
Because as soon as the deal's over, what are we doing with all the money that you spent? Now, I hope that kind of makes sense. It's a bit off topic as far as like how I'm using web, but my point is like, I love when people are honest when it comes to their sexuality too, because I feel like it's just freeing.
Yeah.
I love when someone shares that no joke. I've had this conversation.
I mean, we're open about everything else.
I've literally have asked strangers over a fucking sippy, do you swirl or do you go in and out with your tongue? Just for fun. Not that I'm going to do it with you, but just for fun. Forget the weather.
I feel like it should be a common conversation.
And I've had more people go, you know what? I never thought about it. And I go, this is just, once again, this is all for fun. This is to make life what it really is about. But I don't know. Sorry to ramble, but this is literally going on in my personal life now. And I'm like, I think this translates into your show because once again, coming full circle with that statement is just, I love the love. Like I love.
We're very much alike. I'm very much the same way. I think my friends can just expect something sexual to come out of my mouth at some point. If they're going to visit me, if I'm going to grab coffee with them, be prepared. You're going to hear about sex at some point in our conversation. But it's funny, even though it's taboo, it does create a safe space for your friends or whoever you come in contact with. When you're that candid, when you're that transparent, it makes them feel more comfortable kind of shedding a layer and, kind of partaking, even if it's just listening, they're more comfortable because of how transparent we are. And that's the whole point of really like my career. My goal was always to make sexual health not a taboo subject.
Correct.
It should be a regular conversation, not just among adults too. We always frown upon talking about children, to children or to teenagers about sex. And I'm like, but don't you want your kids to be safe? Don't you want them to be safe? I think that instead of shaming kids for, oh my God, I said sex or I asked about sex. No, you want your kids to ask. You want to inform them. So that was always my thing is amongst adults, teenagers, whatever, it should be a common conversation.
Totally agree. I've always valued that. You've always actually, out of all things, friendships and Flagler and culture, not only did I immediately sync with you because of our Holyoke background, which is always so awesome, coming from the same hood and finding each other as adults and Flagler. I think I've always loved this burden that you've carried. And I say burden because I remember meeting you years ago and you were like, I must do something about it.
How do I do
and
that?
I was like, and it was so cute because like, even back then I didn't really know how I could, I was more of a listener then even for you. I was like, I don't know how you're going to break this veil of sex, because like I said, as you were talking too, I'm thinking how anything could be wrong if used with the wrong motive. Meaning, let's say I was a chef, and next thing you know, I'm like, hey, I'm going to be your personal chef. But next thing you know, I'm using that as a mechanism to look at you and you don't realize it. I feel like there's this sincerity that when it's real, when someone can say to someone that they're attracted to and go, listen to me, you're gorgeous, but you stay over there. You stay over there. I'm going to stay here because if you come close, I'm going to bite you. And when the person says, it's okay, you can bite, and you're like, no, I don't.
You're like, you don't understand.
Yeah. But when there's like, instead of going, you want to come sit next to me because I'm not attracted to you at all. Don't worry, I'm just your friend. No. Just be open. I think that's what I hope.
Honest about it. Yeah.
I think if I'm asked, probably the number one thing I'm asked amongst dudes that know me recreationally, because I'm kind of, just on a personal note, you know that I know that I've kind of been branded all my life as like this womanizer, et cetera, et cetera. I say that, but listen, I know it's true. You know that. My point is, when I share, let's be high school about this. When I share my body count with some of these accusers, they're like, what? I'm like, hey. As far as the makeout boy, I'm like, those are my high numbers, but I didn't just take advantage of I still have never taken myself
I
as
love
someone
that. Listen, not to interrupt, I'm a makeout whore too. Don't worry.
100% not ashamed of it, don't care. And that's another thing. I wish people were, I've noticed this too. Be always wanting to talk outside of spirituality, because I keep that always the focus. But when I am playing and misbehaving, and we do talk drugs, sex, and alcohol, I love to say, like, okay, I'm proud of I'm proud of who, what, all of it. Like I'm proud. Yeah. Where I've noticed as we're adulting now, sometimes people just have this like, it never happened.
Yeah.
And I understand there's a lot of trauma in the world, and I know there's a lot of bad people in the world, unfortunately, that have maybe ruined someone's romance towards that, and that makes me want to. I've got my two heroes here.
Oh,
like this, it makes me want to go like Goku on some of these people, because I've never once abused my powers and for any gain. And it's just, I know that those people are out there, and I know there's people that have to exercise sexuality knowing that they've been beat up, so to speak. Let's just use that term, and it rips me. But when someone can't exercise their happiness, or that it's a beautiful thing. Yeah. It's a really, really beautiful thing. And when I meet people that are willing to share with me, and I'm sure for those that are listening, just so you know, I speak on the behalf of Erica and I, this isn't there's a way to navigate conversations about boobs.
Correct. There's
a way to navigate a conversation about love and touching and kissing, and if you don't have it, that's okay. A lot of people don't. For every time I see an advertisement on TikTok about like how to speak better or this, I'm like, thank God I don't have to learn how to. In my opinion, I've never had a problem with like.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's really all about consent and boundaries in the way that you're speaking about things. I think randomly saying that you love boobs is fine. You didn't say, I love her boobs and point at her boobs without her like.
But piggybacking on that, denying you like something to make that person sit closer is almost doing it's more to your detriment. Yeah. And I love that since I've met you, you've always been. Once again, for those that are listening, it wasn't like Erica and I met. We're like, hey, boobs, make it out. Let's go. There's a rhythm to it. But the point is like, if you were to have asked me, do I like coffee or tea? I don't go, whoa.
Hey, that's where you cross the line.
Wait a minute. You say coffee? Like, everybody wants to be loved. And for those that are in exercising engagement with someone, and meet people now, and they share with me some of their stories, and they haven't been kissed in a long time. And I'm not fixing it. I'm not like, come to me, baby, I will kiss you. It's more of like, don't waste your sexy. I've said that.
Don't waste your sexy.
Don't waste your
That's
sexy.
one of my
Like I
favorite things you have said.
ever like don't. And listen, we're all guilty that we want to be a little thinner, we want to be a little taller, we want to be a little stronger. We're all guilty of it. So don't.
Right.
We've all done this. We look at pictures of ourselves from last year and we're like, who is that handsome steed? You're like,
Yeah.
it was you.
Yeah, and not to get like serious, but this goes along with what you're talking about with the don't waste your sexy. And earlier
Right.
we were talking about transparency. You know, with when it comes to people that have gone through trauma in their life, I'm one of those people. Like I'm a statistic in a million forms when it comes to domestic violence, sexual assault. You know, I was a homeless teen, child abuse. I mean, you name it, I've probably been through it.
Mm-hmm.
And you would think that those things, and this happens for some people, it kind of steers you away from having
Absolutely.
healthy relationships. It kind of steers you away from having sexual relationships from time to time. But with that in mind about don't wasting your sexy, I've become one of those people, and hopefully my listeners who might be going through the same thing will get something out of this. I but I found that being more and more transparent about my traumas kind of helped me push forward in having
Mm-hmm.
healthy sexual relationships. I'm extremely open about what has happened to me. I'm extremely open about some of the consequences,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because with trauma, sometimes there are, you know, STDs and unwanted pregnancies, and there's like all these things that sometimes can come with it. And I found that being transparent and making those things less taboo is also helpful when it comes
Mm-hmm.
to having a healthy sexual relationship. Of course, you know, in the beginning, it was very hard because when you're super open and that other person isn't educated,
Mm.
you might get turned down, you might get met
Yep.
with you and judgment, and
Right.
that part sucks. But it's become super easy now where I don't care. I'm like, okay, then you're not the sexual partner for me. So I'm moving
Absolutely.
on. So it kind of goes along with what you're saying, not to get like, you know,
No,
super.
beautiful. That's why once again, I said this a few months ago for the first time, and I use it a lot now in my dialogue, and that is soul juice. When a person like you is willing to be open, irregardless if it's, you've heard me use whether you want to call them pickup lines or just breaking the normal mold. What's your favorite? Mint chocolate chip or pistachio? That's like one of my most number one questions I ask people when I'm traveling and I'm in a new land. Screw the politics, screw the weather. Mint chocolate chip or pistachio. Do you know that I literally have to get people to wait to answer? Everyone's got one. You know,
Yeah.
like it's a beautiful, and if someone's not willing to share something, that's okay too. But what I've always loved about you and the genre that you represent is being comfortable with not being comfortable, because you've shared with me some of your vulnerabilities. And let me tell you, woman, the shit you've been through, I'm saying this not to make you feel better. I know my limits.
Mm.
I wouldn't be where you are, what you're doing. You know me. I don't care about pocketbooks. I don't care about I don't care about any of that. I care about the all the insides and how you and the way you've navigated life with a smile and a beautiful one at that, and the way you love on people and the way you, and I say this out of
Oh.
pure factual. I'm not, listen, I'm not just saying this to like woo you. These are facts. Like you ooze sexuality in a beautiful way. And I say that out of love for you. Once again, the way you move, the way you, I mean, obviously even it's why you do the belly dancing. You are so comfortable with being uncomfortable because it takes so much confidence to, it's like when I go to a big game on a new pitch with a new team, I'm, and Michael Jordan said, if you're not nervous before it ain't important to you. I'm never one of those guys that downplays it. Like, oh, I'm not tying my cleats and
Mm.
I'm trying to look like I've got this. I don't got this. I'm
I
shitting my pants over
I
here.
still get nervous.
Absolutely. And the way that you turn on though, the way that you hit let's just use the soccer as the analogy, the way you hit the pitch of life, I've always loved that. I've loved seeing you at your vulnerabilities
Mm.
when you're not well,
Yeah.
because it shows the human side of, I've lost many soccer games and gone home bloodier with a loss than bloody with a win. There's nothing worse than coming home bloody with a loss. You're
Oh
like, what was this
yes.
for?
Oh no, and
Should
when you're when you are an open book too, it does leave you open for attacks. So that's that's the risk you got to take sometimes too.
And let me tell you this too. I say this out of love for you too, but we're easy targets. People like you and I, especially in a small town. And I'm not crying. I love who we are, and but like, I know that I can be branded as like, here he comes, and it's okay. And I'm not saying that out of doom and gloom. I'm loved and admired by a lot of people, but when people realize that I didn't fuck her, even though I sat down with her for an hour and a half,
yep,
they're like, yeah, right. I'm like,
yeah,
you can do it. Now, did I tell her I wouldn't? No, but did I? So it's like, I love that you've been able to find, because let me tell you something too. I don't want to make it like gender specific, but being a woman is 10 times harder to navigate life than it is a man, because you have to filter let me tell you something. I speak for every man on the planet except maybe Leo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, and throw a couple celebrities in there. For the rest of us normal men, we are not sitting at a bar and have woman after woman after woman after woman coming up to us to just talk to us about our sneakers. Not happening. Now, you got guys out there that act like it, like, yo, I just got so much puss coming off and I don't even know what to do. Like, yeah, okay.
Okay, good for you.
The way a woman has to navigate workplace, especially when you're the whole thing. So I'm not trying to be chivalrous here for like, listen, women, I don't feel bad. I'm not trying I'm not trying to victimize you guys, but here's my point. The filtering process that you have to do at such a young age.
Yep. It
seeing
starts
it
early,
now,
for sure.
Now that I have less time on this planet than I've lived, I now see things as a gray-haired man going, wow, like we as little boys and we're looking, we kiss a tree.
Oh, even to this, listen, even to this day, it doesn't matter how professional the platform is. Cause like I also do speaking engagements. I'll go to these events where you don't think you won't encounter any of that. Right. And I'll step off stage after speaking on this very topic, and I'll get hit on by one of the men. And
absolutely.
Like, we're in an educational space right now.
I see it more and more. I saw it the other day. A friend of mine at a basically like a lobby situation where the person working behind the desk, I mean, that's like rule number 1, don't hit on the guests, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the guy's doing his pickup line, and I'm like, A, that's never going to work. 2, your employer is going to castrate you.
Yep.
1, and the person he was doing it on was totally not being well received. And I'm going, oh my God. I mean, watching someone sink their own ship when it comes to courting is worse than hearing someone botch the national anthem in front of like 10,000 people. You're like, bro or gal.
That's one thing. But if it's clearly like not being reciprocated, like please stop.
So I probably will tell you, going back to how are we on time, by the way? Are we?
No, we're pretty much at the end, but I wanted you to finish this thought because.
Well, I would just say like how that all wraps up with me with being a digital entrepreneur for 20 years now, which is insane that I even like it's. I would say I hope for all those, being that I work with so many independent businesses, whether big or small, be comfortable with who you're fucking.
Yeah.
And even if it's a thing, be proud of it. Be proud of who and what you have had. And if you're not, because of if your circumstances were okay, meaning you didn't come from something that caused you to be this way, then man up or woman up and be proud of who you are and what you like. I could go on for days about the things not that I have that many, but I'm proud of the things I like on a body. I'm proud of my way. I'm proud of myself in that nature. Not that I use it as bragging rights, but behind closed doors or even sometimes in public when the time and the setting's right. Be proud of who you are, but also don't try to shove it down someone's throat either. Like, for instance, if you're you're into elbows, and the gal or the guy's not into elbows. Don't find another person that's into elbows. It's okay. Or, that's maybe your thing, but
Right.
not everyone's going to always agree with you either. And I think that that's probably been one of those fascinating things, is like being someone that's not a starchy contractor in general. Like, hello, I will, and packaging people,
Right.
that I'm very tailored. I think no matter what industry you're in, we're all psychologists to some degree, right? With some of the leading ones being hairstylists, and that, like, they are the real psychologists. Like, but even you as an independent contractor, what you do on the side, like all these things, at the end of the day, you always got to hear someone's story, right?
Yes.
So be willing to listen, be willing to love, and being respectful of somebody else's fantasies, but
Don't yuck
also,
anyone's yum.
ooh, I like that.
Don't
I
yuck
like that.
my yum, and I won't yuck your yum.
But I want you to know that, once again, I really want to say to you, thank you for always being, consistency now is another dying trait, right? Like,
Yeah.
one day you're this, one day you're that. Just, if you're consistently an asshole, change that. But
Right.
you've been consistent since I've met you. You're an amazing human. I love the way you love. I love the way you don't love. I love your boundaries.
Mm.
And for all those that are listening to her show, if li- listen to the silver lining to it outside of the education you're producing. It's the romance of this thing called life. I think that's probably one of the most beautiful things I've been told in private and in a public setting, is the finding the romance in life. It's just so
Yeah.
beautiful. It's going to go by so fast. One of the things, and I'll close on this, that my grandfather said that always stuck with me, um, was I make my grandfather involved with a lot of my greats and weaknesses, and one of my greats are soccer. I'm still playing, thank God. And I'll never forget my grandfather in his 80s. This was years ago. He even said this, but he was still in his 80s. He said to me, he goes, "You never want to stop playing, and you never want to stop fucking." And I thought, because sometimes you look at an older person and they look okay with being
Right.
slow and older and being there, and they're not.
They're not.
They're not. And now that I'm at my gray-haired beginning stages of becoming an older guy, I don't want to stop playing and
Mhm.
fucking.
Some
And
of the
once again, I'm
most
sorry.
open, inclusive people have
Yeah.
been our elders.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I'm sorry to sound so derogatory with using the word. It's an umbrella statement to just, it's to be thought provoking. And it's like, my grandfather to this day will tell a woman she looks delicious, with it being applicable,
Yeah.
because his appetite's not off. So I would say to those out there now that are suffering with being comfortable with themselves, or haven't had a good makeout in that 30 days, go out there. Go
Yes.
out there and go play, and make it good. Don't be weird, and go where you feel and don't force it either. Don't be, like, well, wait.
When you
You
did
know,
that, everyone watching this understood what you meant.
You know what I mean? There's a time and place, but my point is, don't grow up too fast, people. Stay sexy. And by the way, for all those that don't know me that listen to this, my hotline's always open. You know that, on a
Yes.
personal note. You can call me
Yes.
anytime, and I would love to hear from you, and pray with you, and remind you that you're sexy and you're going to win. But I feel so bad. We're
No,
going to
it's
get
okay.
kicked
It's
off.
okay. I love
Okay.
you. Like, I'm blushing because I didn't expect the so much love, but that's why I love you too, because you have that same aura and that same love for people, and I appreciate you so much. And for those of you watching or listening, when it comes to creating, even though Chenzo and I are from two very different industries, when it comes to creating accessible and inclusive content to educate people, we are very much on the same
Mhm.
plane. So please definitely make sure to check him out. I did put the website down below, chenzodesigns.com. I'm sure your social media platforms are accessible
All there.
through there.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Thank you again for such an insightful conversation. I'm actually glad we went off topic. It was kind of
Yeah.
nice to just candidly talk about sex, and hopefully I can have you back if you're willing and we can continue. And yeah, this was amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate you, and we'll talk soon.
Yes, and for those of you listening, like I always say, please stay informed, stay curious, and stay safe. Until next time.